一刷根39大林邦呀，腾满腾腾啊巴扎呀扎呀。
Michael. I'm just to introduce myself. I'm born in America, but I'm living in Thailand now for 23 years. And 23 years I'm working with smallholder farmers in organic agroforestry and what we would call forest gardening, which I think in the permaculture world we have a food forest. I think it's quite similar. Maybe it can be food forest, but I want to emphasize that in actually, like, I identify as a Wanakase practitioner. Wanakase means forest agriculture, and we have this movement in Thailand, and we have actually a long history of forest gardening that I know from the south of Thailand. It's called Sun Sambarom, which is growing basically many different fruit and perennial vegetable trees and wood trees and fiber trees together. So this is a very old movement, and I would be interested to learn, actually, I think maybe in Taiwan they would have as well, but I know from my working in Thailand and Southeast Asia that we also have same tradition, almost the same species in Sri Lanka, and we have the same in Java. So I think this is, and I know the history because now I work mostly in the south of Thailand. It's a very long history. We often think, I think, too short about our history. But more than 1,200 years ago, there was trading and exchange in Buddhism, in these things, from the kingdoms of southern Thailand with Sri Lanka, with Java, and so forth. So it's very logical. I think we look at the like, sometimes we feel like we invent everything in the last 200 years, but there is so much wealth of knowledge. And I love this kind of system. I think it is the most regenerative. When we basically, what is a forest garden? Is we are basically creating a forest that has many things that we like to use. And in Wanakase philosophy, we actually say there is no plant that is not useful. And one of our key teachers, he passed away, he would plant any plant. And my experience is every single plant has not even one use, has maybe 3 or 4 use. So it is also about the knowledge. We need to restore this knowledge and relationship to the plants. Now, I think if we're unexperienced people from, even from Bangkok, now many people would walk in the forest and maybe they only see tree. They don't know, like, oh, this is good if you have a mosquito bite, it will help relieve it. This is a good leaf to eat. This is a good fruit. They will not know that. But if you have the relationship, you know all of these things. Or actually, like, this one, you can take the plant, you can immediately tie something. It has a string. So this is part of our process, is to rebuild the knowledge with restoring the biodiversity, increasing the biodiversity. And from that, we create what we call community self-reliance. I think we talk about this John Chandai, who is also talked about this in the speech. But this is we can move away from the purely economic system of selling things to having more and more abundance that we produce for our own good and so forth. So I start with showing some different photo. We have many forest garden system. This is one farmer friend. This is she's also doing rubber. My key work is now in rubber, but I'll explain that later. So you can see one photo of this. This is not quite as developed, but I also like to promote these very interesting polycultures that become closer to forest. So this has become popular. Coconut is a wonderful tree to grow with other things, because coconut is not greedy. It just takes a small amount of space, a small amount of light, but gives a bit more cooling. So this system has coconut is the top, you can see a little bit, and you can see this is cacao, but there's also longgong. Longgong is a nice fruit. It likes a little bit of shade. So when we understand different plants are happy in different areas, and this idea that is normally taught by agriculture university and so forth, everything in competition, if that's the case, how can we all be together? So even we say like actually the healthy society is like a forest. There is much more symbiosis than there is competition. And some trees, they want the shade. And some trees, they have roots that are deep. Some trees that have roots that are on the ground. And then if you have the trees, you can have the epiphytes, you can have the yams. So it is really all in relationship. This is actually, maybe you cannot see, but this is using the forest as a nursery. So once we develop forest garden, we will have a lot of biodiversity, and a very good income is to sell interesting plants. But we can use the natural canopy to create the cool condition that is favorable for the young tree. So my main area now is working with rubber. So rubber is from the Amazon. I think the Amazon is not a monoculture, right? It's the least monoculture place in the world. But rubber is now grown very strongly in Southeast Asia. And Thailand, we are one of the biggest producers of rubber. Well, even though they later promote to grow rubber in monoculture, the first way the Thai people grow rubber is in a forest. And actually, it was very happy in that condition. But then with the Green Revolution, they say, no, you have to grow it in a monoculture and we will fine you, or you get money to plant it like this, and you need to use fertilizer, you need to use herbicide. But in Thailand, from about 15 years ago, a number of the elders, a number of people who said, no, this is wrong. We can see the soil is worse, the productivity is worse, we don't have water. And so they said, they remembered, because the change really started in 1960. So anybody who was still, even like until 1970, it was not normal to be the monoculture system. So they knew this and it worked. And so we can grow rubber in this forest system. And in fact, the rubber is actually better quality and more productive. And with the climate, it's much more resilient. So this is like my personal mission. Actually, come to PDC in 2017, and then I start to do this, but I said, we have 2 million hectares of rubber in Thailand, and this is better than that. So if we can change all of the rubber to be like healthy tropical forest, that's a lot of land on the planet. So that's kind of my work now primarily. This is another system. This is like in development, but this is more the traditional, we can call like a traditional fruit forest system from southern Thailand. We have durian, another pig species. We see pineapple beetle. We have coffee and coconut. So again, this is very normal. You can grow together in the polyculture, and these plant much more productive from the total system. And some plant like rubber or coffee. Coffee wants shade. Coffee is not happy in the sun. So actually, you don't get any less production of coffee if you do it right. Rubber, it likes to be with other trees. So you don't get any, so in fact you get, instead of 100%, you might get 300% of the yield. So even we talk about economy, this makes a lot of sense. And then Lung Chok did not come here, but he went to there. But he has bamboo forest garden, and I was also so impressed. This is the wild gar, which now it comes to his land. This, I didn't even amaze this animal existing. This is about 7 feet tall. You can see comparatively. I feel like maybe like if European history, like how we worship the bull in the history. My God, these animals are amazing. They're like elephant size. So that's a bit of perspective on there. Oh, and here's in the north of Thailand, we have a very good example of coffee in the forest system, and the very premium coffee. And you can see this is the coffee layer, and then this is mostly they have not planted these trees. These are the native trees. And this very good success in that before there was fighting between the community and the national park, because the community actually exists in the national park before there's national park. But once they established national park, they said, oh, you should not be here. You're destroying the forest. But once they say, okay, we do this forest coffee system, the community is actually restoring the forest more effectively than the forestry department. So the forestry department signed an MOU with all the farmers. Please help us to restore the forest. And okay, if you have coffee in the forest. So quite a good example there. So I want to give perspective if I come back to this, but I say this movement is a larger movement, and I have not been here, but I'm in the communication. I think very good work by in Maya Forest Garden in Belize and in Guatemala, and analog forestry. So this is some picture from my colleague Dr. Annabelle. So in the Maya Forest Garden, which I water here, you start with the shifting cultivation. So the first year it looked like maize and different crops, but then you develop into perennials, and then it become more and more perennials and more of a forest, and it advances into like a full forest system. So actually, in Dr. Annabelle, she said that in that whole area, it's evident that the Maya people have been selecting and planting the trees for many years. So the whole forest that we think is like a natural forest is actually also being gardened by humans for thousands of years. So it's tradition there, and yeah. And another person I want to speak of that is doing really amazing work for many years in the system they call analog forestry, Dr. Ranil, which try to basically mimic the structure, ecosystem function, and all of this in the forest environment, similar to what we're doing. And they are much more like, I think, technical in terms of planning, designing, and looking at the different type of species. In my Thai context, we do this, but not quite as technical. It's just kind of like from farmer experience and knowledge as to what works. But you can see, you can evolve the system. But in all cases, we start from if we're starting from bare ground, we will basically create this succession process. So you don't have to, some people say, oh, well, I have to wait so long for the trees to produce. But no, you can grow different things. Like banana, for example, we can harvest maybe 9 months, 10 months. So when there's a lot of light, or pineapples, but we plant papayas a bit later, but once the other fruiting trees. So we can shift from an open land to a forest garden and having productivity the whole time. And this is, I think, the traditional in case. And so here it's photo showing that you can have very similar structure, very similar function, but maybe we have a zone where we primarily select the species that we want to have there. But normally the process for us is not only selection, but also we call like inviting or welcoming. Because once we start to have any small fruits or whatever, we will have bat, we will have bird, we will have maybe some kind of monkey or whatever, and they will bring many seeds. And you can actually do this as a permaculture strategy to reforest. You can plant the tree that has a very small berry that is attractive to the bird, and that berry tree will attract all the bird, and the bird will plant the forest around her tree. But in any case, we will always have other interesting species. So we have to learn, and then we say, oh, wow, that's great, that's there. So you really don't have to plant that much. But you may say, oh, I want a durian tree. Okay, durian fruit. Durian seed is very big. It's not going to easily come into your land, the durian seed. Pretty much have to be by humans, and maybe something like that. But you will get many interesting species. And there's also a movement in Ecuador and Brazil. This is showing that. And this is, I think, also something that is really extremely exciting about these systems that I've experienced very personally now. They have a very strong effect on the microclimate and the conditions within there. I mean, even between rubber is already a tree crop, but between the rubber monoculture system and the rubber forest garden system, it's about 4 degrees Celsius cooler in midday in the rubber forest garden system. So we have a global warming, but if we create the positive microclimate, we do that. And it's not only, it doesn't work just like, I don't know if you're like near a big lake. You don't have to be at the lake, you can be not far from the lake, and it has a cooling effect. So once we create more forest or more near the forest, it actually radiates out. It creates this cooling effect and this kind of enlivening effect in the area. And we have, in the rubber project, we have like one community where already maybe 10 farmers, they're not next to each other, but they're in the same area. They're all doing this system, and a lot of regenerative growth, and many unusual species come back. Like now we have water otters. River otter has come to the small stream. The stream is just this big. So the stream has to first be healthy enough to run the all year round, to have the fish come in, and then there's enough fish that you have the river otter. And you have like hornbill, and you have this, I think it's called colugo. Colugo is it's a kind of a primate, but it flies like a flying squirrel with its fin out. So once we create these conditions, and they become like pockets of life, both cooling it and also kind of spreading biodiversity around. So we can have much greater impact than only in our area. And I guess I was trying to also say that in order to kind of bring this, one of my objectives is to bring this to be much more mainstream or larger effect. I think when we look at permaculture, I think we're all doing amazing things, at least at our local level. But the world is much bigger. So how can we shift the larger world? And one aspect is maybe you can recognize the product. So this is one scheme from there, to recognize the product that is coming from this system that has very positive impact on the land. Okay, now I want to show, because I'm here and I'm not with one of my farmers from my project, a very beautiful film was made. I want to present this film. Let's see.
มีป่ามันก็มีชีวิตอะที่ฟองแบบเนี้ยการที่เราจะไปปลูกต้นไม้แล้ววันข้างหน้าเราก็วาดถึงอนาคตว่าเราจะมองว่าเราจะทำยังไงให้มันรอดให้มันดีในความรู้สึกที่ต้นไม้ที่ยังไม่ปลูกเท่านั้นที่ยังไม่โตที่ย้ายมาอยู่จริงๆตอนอายุประมาณ13 ขวบนะคะส่วนยางอยู่นิดเดียวคือประมาณไร่หนึ่งตอนพ่อขอทุนปลูกยางพันธุ์ดีที่รัฐบาลสนับสนุนแล้วก็เหมือนเขาให้ตัดต้นไม้ชนิดอื่นออกหมดพืชอาหารทุกชนิดต้องเอาออกหมดเป็นยางเจิงเดี่ยวระหว่างนั้นเหมือนรายได้จะน้อยมากรายได้น้อยก็เลยต้องไปหาจากธรรมชาติเรามีรายได้หลักจากการหาผักกูดหามะเขือพวงแล้วก็หน่อไม้จากริมคลองธรรมชาติเมื่อก่อนมันมีค่ามากมายเลยที่เราได้ไปใช้ชีวิตแบบนั้นมันเหมือนให้เราได้เรียนรู้ด้วยทีนี้เขาได้ความคิดมาจากพ่อว่าเกิดพื้นแผ่นดินน่ะมีบุญคุณกับเราสิ่งที่ทำให้เราเกิดด้วยก็เลยยังไงก็ต้องตั้งเป้าหมายว่าตัวเองต้องมีป่าให้ได้พาราเชิงเดี่ยวก็หมายถึงว่าสวนยางที่ปลูกเฉพาะยางพาราเพื่อเก็บผลผลิตยางพาราอย่างเดียวแล้วถ้าไม่มีพืชอื่นมาแซมก็จะไม่มีพืชมาแย่งตอนแรกๆอ่ะแล้วหมายคิดก็ไปหาใส่ที่ทำกินของพ่อแม่สามไม่เห็นด้วยกับการที่จะปลูกแบบปลูกร่วมสวนยางแต่ที่ก็แอบปลูกที่จะสวนเกษตรกยท.นั้นจะไม่ทำเหมือนรัฐบาลแล้วก็ไม่ยอมขอทุนรัฐบาลด้วยบางส่วนตัวเมนเก็บก็ลงทุนเองคือที่ก็ไม่หยุดที่จะทำท่ามกลางความ อยบ้างอะไรบ้างก็ถูกทำลายไปบ้างเหลืออยู่บ้างก็มั่นใจว่ามันคือสิ่งที่ดีประสบการณ์ที่เคยเห็นต้นยางที่อยู่ในป่าให้น้ำยางเยอะต้องดีกว่ายางจืดเหมือนยิ่งทำเรายิ่งมีความสุขแล้วชีวิตเรายิ่งเปลี่ยนผลลัพธ์ที่ได้รับมันดีจริงหลายอย่างที่เราพึ่งพาชุมชนแล้วก็ชุมชนก็ให้ความสำคัญกับเราทุกคนถูกเข้าถึงเพราะว่าอาชีพหลักคือยางพาราตอนแรกๆก็ทำเป็นเคมีก่อนเพราะว่าแบบได้ความคิดว่ามันจะช่วยให้ต้นยางโตเร็วหลายๆอย่างในความรู้สึกเราว่าน้ำก็ต้องซื้อไม่สามารถจะเอามาดื่มได้ก็เลยคิดว่าทำเป็นอินทรีย์รอบๆแหละแล้วอีกอย่างหนึ่งพื้นที่ตำบลเป็นพื้นที่ต้นน้ำถ้าเราใช้สารเคมีคนที่อยู่ด้านล่างกว่าจะถึงกว่าจะน้ำมันจะไหลไปก็กระทบไปทั่วถ้าเราอยู่กับธรรมชาติได้เราก็มีทำแต่ว่านักเกษตรคือการทำเกษตรที่ปลูกพืชหลากหลายชนิดเพิ่มขึ้นในสวนยางแต่เน้นหลักคือเน้นส่วนใหญ่เพื่อให้อยู่ร่วมยางเพื่อจะช่วยเก็บความชื้นไว้ให้มากกว่าแล้วก็ช่วยให้มีความอุดมสมบูรณ์ด้วยดินก็มีความอุดมสมบูรณ์ปลูกผักปลูกพืชให้หลากหลายชนิดยิ่งขึ้นเลี้ยงขึ้นส่วนใหญ่ก็ผักก็จะเป็นผักที่อยู่ในป่ามันก็เลยทำหลายๆอย่างรวมกันคนทำว่านักเกษตรจะผูกพันกับธรรมชาติผูกพันกับป่าการทำสวนเป็นเรื่องหนักแต่เรารู้สึกเหมือนเราไปเที่ยวป่าความสุขในวรรณเกษตรจะมากกว่าก็เป็นจุดเรียนรู้เป็นฐานเรียนรู้ของวรรณเกษตรอย่างปาราด้วยคือฝึกอบรมเอาภูมิปัญญาเก่าๆมาสอนให้เขารู้จักใช้ประโยชน์จากพืชต้นยางตรงนี้ก็ทำให้มันมีการสนใจวรรณเกษตรเพิ่มมากยิ่งขึ้นแล้วก็สิ่งที่ทำบางครั้งถ้าไปบอกเล่าเฉยๆเขาก็ไม่เชื่อแต่เหมือนคนที่เขาแวะเวียนมาเยี่ยมอะไรแบบนี้เขาจะเป็นการเรียนรู้แบบธรรมชาติจะส่งผลให้เหมือนไปกระตุ้นนะคะเหมือนไปเชื่อมโยงโดยที่ไม่ต้องบังคับไม่ต้องใช้งบประมาณแค่ใช้การแบ่งปันเอาเลยพี่เจ้าบ้านเชิญพี่เลยก่อน อันนี้ลูกอะไรคะลูกกบรสชาติเป็นยังไงคะฝาดมันกินกับขนมจีนอร่อยมากกินข้าวก็อร่อยน้ำพริกอร่อยปลาที่อร่อยมากปลาตรงนี้เป็นปลาน้ำจืดปลาอะไรอ่ะแบบที่เลี้ยงกลุ่มยินซีอ่ะก็เป็นเมนูใหม่ที่หลายอย่างที่เราเอาของในสวนอ่ะไปใส่ไปผสมผสานกับวัตถุดิบที่เราซื้อมาจากที่อื่นเพื่อให้ลงตัวเหมือนเราหาวิธีที่จะกินให้อร่อยด้วยสิ้นเปลืองน้อยด้วยแล้วเหมือนได้อุ่นขึ้นมาด้วยอย่างคนนั้นเลี้ยงไข่เราก็ได้อุ่นเขาสิ่งที่เราไม่มีก็จะเขาเราเหมือนส่วนเราไม่มีเหมือนเขามีเขาแบ่งปันทำเมื่อกี้หมดเลยอยากให้ด้วยค่ะเดียวถ้ามีของอ่ะเร็วมากตั้งหาพออยู่ในระบบสวนยางก็เป็นอินทรีย์ไม่ต้องใช้สารเคมีช่วยไม่ต้องยาอะไรแมลงอะไรไม่ต้องมีเลยเหมือนระบบนิเวศมันช่วยเราเองด้วยส่วนปีนะพี่ทิพย์นะใช่จ้ะอย่างนี้ก็แสดงว่าฝีมือที่พี่ทิพย์อร่อยคนกินข้าวน้อยเติมข้าวแสดงว่าอะไรแล้วก็อะไรที่พี่กังวลใจในการทำสัญญาแบบนี้บ้างไหมคะมีอะไรกังวลใจไหมพี่มีข้อมูลนะถ้าไม่มีตัวต้าแต่วันนี้พี่ก็เอาอยู่ก็อย่างที่บอกแล้วพี่จะแล้วพอยังอายุได้7 ถึง 8 ปีค่อยเริ่มกรีดแล้วเอาไปเข้าโรงทำเป็นยางแผ่นก็ต้องผ่านกระบวนการรีดการผสมระหว่างยางพารากับน้ำแล้วก็ปุ๋ยแล้วเข้าเตาลงควันเพื่อให้เป็นยางลงควันแล้วการที่เราทำวรรณเกษตรก็เป็นส่วนหนึ่งที่จะช่วยน้ำยางเรามีคุณภาพดีมีเปอร์เซ็นต์สูงมีเนื้อยางน้ำยางเข้มข้นขึ้นทีนี้พอยางพาราได้รับการส่งเสริมในราคาพรีเมียมในราคาที่ดีแตกต่างจากยางเชิงเดี่ยวอยากทำสอบถามจากที่เมื่อก่อนหลายๆโครงการที่น้อยค่ะไม่เยอะก็เลยทำเรื่อยๆอะไรกันหลายคนเลยยังคุณค่ะเขาบอกว่าชนิดอะไรบ้างที่จะปลูกในสวนอะไรแล้วเขาบอกไปว่าก็มีก้านปลูกอะไรก็ได้ใช่ไหมคุณมีตะเคียนทองมีพะโยมมีผักกันเกาที่มองว่านาคตยางตะมูดส่วนใหญ่จะเป็นวรรณเกษตรจะเป็นยางมีคนสนใจแบบรวดเร็วมากค่ะรวดเร็วมีคนติดตามขอบคุณค่ะสุดท้ายนี่นี่ค่ะว้าวดูว้าวว้าวติดโซ่ค่ะว้าวเราลองยิ่งจัดในความรู้สึกว่าเราได้แบ่งปันสิ่งดีๆเรามองว่าเราได้สร้างบุญที่ยิ่งใหญ่ ญ่ในความรู้สึกที่ก็มองว่าตรงเนี้ยเพราะว่าคิดดีอยากมีต้นไม้ก็เหมือนต้นไม้อ่ะมันเป็นพลังพิเศษที่โดนบันดาลให้จิตสมปรารถนาตรงเนี้ยก็เลยยิ่งผูกพันมากยิ่งขึ้นแล้วก็หันมาทำจริงจังเลยทีนี้แบบปลูกเหมือนเป็นฟาร์มที่เราต้องการจะกินอยากกินอะไรก็มีอยากแล้วพอเราได้คิดว่าไม่ว่าเราอยากจะมีเงินหรือไม่มีเงินเราก็ได้แบ่งปันกับทุกคนเราได้มีความเป็นอยู่ที่ดีขึ้นเราได้มีกินมีใช้ไม่ขาดแคลนตั้งใจไว้เลยว่าจะปลูกต้นไม้จนลมหายใจสุดท้ายคือมันเป็นความสุขที่สุดในชีวิตบอกไม่ได้มันบอกไม่ถูกเหมือนกันว่ามันเยอะขนาดไหนแต่ว่ามันเยอะมากความสุขจากตรงนั้นอ่ะ
So I wanted to show that because that's the whole kind of, that's Jawtip, one of our leading farmers, and this movement is started locally and then as a way to expand it. Well, the movement is not based upon income per se. There's a reality that farmers do need to have income, and so was searching for a partner to buy this rubber from this system at a premium. So the partners that we have now are the North Face, Timberland, and Vans. If you buy any, at least the North Face shoe, the rubber, which is only about 20% that's used in it, will be from these regenerative rubber systems. So maybe this is one way of expanding, and in line with that, one of, if you watch, why are companies and other governments interested in this is now we have, like, they have to be viewed in terms of their impact on life, on nature, on the environment, and including I mean, while carbon is the main thing, I think carbon is dangerous if you look at carbon alone, just like Vivek was explaining from Nepal. But when we look at a total, like, biodiversity is actually probably the single best indicator of whole system health. So this is an official study, and basically we see that there are more birds, there are more reptiles, there's more butterflies. In these are comparative systems, and we're doing more research comparing between these rubber forest gardening systems and monocultures. And this is done also in a very participatory way, recognizing the knowledge and the wisdom of the farmers. So the farmers like Jawtip, she is like very active in the research and the knowledge. And for me, this is something we also have to change on a larger level. I don't like kind of the colonial aspect of a lot of research as well, to be respecting this. This is showing that there's an evolutional process. We can shift the system from monoculture into simple polycultures and into systems that look and feel like forests and are full of a lot of biodiversity. This is kind of our identification in the research process of different systems and their evolution. And we have already, from farmer level and research, we have so many different benefits. There's actually no negative effect in terms that I can say, except some people may be more scared of snakes. But to be honest, none of the farmer feel like the snake is a problem. I personally practice agroforestry myself. with my family. It's great. We do have a lot more life on the land, but I think the snake is scared of human too. So if we give the snake a place to be that's like hide, it doesn't normally come in the middle of the path. This is the main project area we are working, and this for the research as well. This is in southern Thailand, which is a wonderful, beautiful place with culture. That's all the film was shot in there. And this is a research where we've completed the research but not finished the paper on comparing biodiversity and biomass and carbon sequestration. But this is showing kind of different levels of development of the system from as a monoculture, but you gradually evolve until these very dense systems in we call level 4 and level 5. And we measured all of the biomass in these, as well as biodiversity, and also compare ground cover, canopy, how it looks between the rows of rubber. Collect soil to compare soil differences between monoculture and agroforestry system. And this is showing some photo of different.
What's the criteria for level 4, level 5?
Well, it's basically it's based upon like as the more diversity of species and more of the canopy. Like it looks more like it has to have a certain number of different canopy. We measure species at different heights. So in we normally say there's like basically, I mean it's not perfect, but basically we consider 3 levels of trees, and then we have like bushes, we have ground cover, we have vines and lianas, and we have epiphytes. So the system needs to evolve to be more. Normal forest will have all of that. In this, we're in wet tropical conditions, we'll have all of these. So if it's a simple structure and there's only maybe a few species that are different and not the canopy level, then we consider. But we have like we train together like in our own with Professor Dr. Urewan, who is helping us to have like our own way to assess together to look at species in there. But basically it's the structure has more of a forest-like structure and there's more biodiversity within it. And this was a comparison. This is some of the initial data from that study. So we see basically there's a whole lot more biomass in these systems. So if you're looking at carbon above ground, and this is looking at biodiversity, and biodensity means like how many plants, so the diversity of that. So we have increasing biodiversity and biodensity. Sometimes if you see like this is a thing, if RF1 it can go down, and why does that? Is because when people like start to make a polyculture, they have to plant the trees and clear the weeds. But once those trees are grown up, you can plant other things in and around and you don't worry about it. But when you're starting a new tree, if you just let the weeds completely cover it, then it's probably not going to do so well. So there can be a decrease in there. And this is looking at biomass. Or here we can see like the increase. So with like, then we have a lot of RF4 and a lot of RF5 farmers in the project. So it's not that the majority, but because we want to shift all farmers to be like this, we don't have criteria. We don't want to. We actually want farmers who are doing monoculture, if they follow the principles and the standard, basically they have to create biodiversity, stop using chemicals, and then they join in different trainings and they evolve. And it's very rapid, the process. In 3 years, your system can completely change. And like I said, once you start to have species that are attractive to animals, they will do a lot of propagation for us. So we want to heal the whole forest. So we don't only accept the good people who are doing a great job. They are the teachers, they are leaders. But we want everyone. It's like, yeah, let's join. And this is a study that show about comparison in terms of basically the soil in these systems is superior on every level and average about twice as much organic matter. So again, if you're also looking at carbon, I mean, the health of the soil, I think without organic matter we don't have healthy living soil. But if you're also trying to speak, when we have to speak to like the market and we have to speak to academics, unfortunately we like need to show some things like carbon and biodiversity studies. I think we live this as a person, we live this in an experience, but sometimes this is a way that we can, I think, leverage our work in that case. To provide that in the data collection process, we use participatory guarantee system. like was being described earlier, but now we have the technology of mobile phone, so a lot of data can be collected directly by the farmer. And I think this makes it no longer really necessary to have an expert certification, because we take photos that have the time, the place, we can show the actual diversity, we can count from that, and so unfortunately I cannot open it, but we can actually look at each farm location and we can see what that farmer is doing. And for our goal is regeneration, so we want to see the change over time, so we can see how it shifts and how many new species, how much, and for us it's not only about species, it's about relationship. So it's the utilization of the species for food, for medicine, for materials. So there's like a knowledge relationship process as well, because it's based upon this one cascade philosophy. All right, so that's I'm happy to take questions or exchange from here. Yeah.
Mike, when you measure carbon sequestration, you talk about different layers. Is there anything under the ground?
Yeah, actually there was like, this is done based upon the same standard that is used for selling carbon. So we don't measure that exactly, but we measure by the size of the trees. But this is the estimated underground biomass carbon based upon the trees. And this is all additionality. So we didn't measure the rubber trees, but this is all addition to the rubber trees. So you can do a measurement, and I guess there's other systems, but basically this is the process of measuring the circumference of any tree that it's over 15 centimeters at 1.3 meters of height is what we count, and then you measure the circumference and then you measure the height, which is kind of fun, but you have to do like comparison. And then you can put all of that information down, which we do in 3 large sample areas. So we don't do the whole, I mean, if to do this for like 2 hectares is an incredible amount of work, but we do 3 different sample areas within the farm, and that should give a strong picture, and from that we can calculate. There's an official way to calculate how much that is in biomass and carbon.
And what program do you use to measure this? Is there a standardized sort of, I mean, what do you
So in terms of the calculation, it's this is the Thai thing, it's called less. So now, we're not selling this yet as carbon, I'm just saying, but we're just following the same way they assess the data. But there's less is the Thai official government program for selling carbon from your system. So that calculates based upon you have to measure the circumference of the tree and the height, which it's like you need at least a couple people. But the simple way is you use like a measuring, and then you look like this and compare, and then you can calculate what the total height of the tree is. You compare like one. Well, I can teach you if you're interested, but it's take practice. Yeah. Any other questions? Sure.
The agroforestry certification you had, are there any farms outside of Thailand that are certified with that?
With this one, the one that I showed at the end that we're collecting data on, that is ethos. There's also being used in, but the one that's the analog forestry certification, that's by this one. I know they're using it in Ecuador and I believe in Costa Rica. So you can look online for this with the analog forestry. It's a larger movement. I don't know everywhere where it is, but I have a great respect for Dr. Ranil and exchange with him. And he's in Sri Lanka. He helped to develop this. He's like about 80 years now, and very wise person in practicing. He actually got a PhD, but he's been practicing his whole life these systems. But I know the movement's larger. I know from Sri Lanka, Ecuador, and Costa Rica are the countries I know that use that. For this other system that we're using for the selling rubber to the shoe companies and so forth, that is developed by the company I'm working with most closely now with Regeneration, and then using it in a few other projects.
In a temperate climate, members?
No, not that I know of, and I'm not really experienced on the species in there. And for pterogenesis, our work is really on the tropical, maybe subtropical areas. But I know that there is a history of temperate. So maybe with analog forestry, there may be someone there to definitely can connect and look at that. I'm sorry, I don't know so well. But for pterogenesis, our focus is really more on the smallholder farmers in like global south, which tend to be a tropical or subtropical. And there are a few crops that work really well that we can shift to this. As rubber is amazing, coconut, coffee, and cacao. All of these work extremely well in these diversified agroforestry systems. And so we have a lot of area we can, I think, at least shift with that. But even at home, I practice even other systems. Now that this is, Dr. Renil says this, and I experienced this myself, now the heat is more intense. We had the hottest summer we ever had in Thailand. And actually heat stress is more critical than sun. Basically, once the temperature is above 35 Celsius, most plants will not photosynthesize. They're just dealing with the stress. So even with rice, rice needs a lot of sun. But in our rice system, we still have some tall trees around the rice system, which provide additional biodiversity and cooling. Also very good for pest management too, because when you grow something like an annual like rice, if you have the field empty, there will be no pest that will be food for your friends, like spiders are your friends and birds. But if you have around your rice field, you have trees and bushes, then you have the habitat and the food for your natural predators. So if we have these systems like this, then if the pests come to the rice, very rapidly the spiders and the birds and the frogs and so forth will come to control. And yeah, for living this summer, we had the hottest summer, but my house, I don't have rubber in my house, but we have all sorts of trees and canopy, and everyone came and they said, oh, your house is the coolest house in the summer, even like we have 40 degrees Celsius, but it's much more pleasant. I'm not saying it's too cold, because it was too hot, but it was way better than being somewhere else. So I think just for living in the future now, I think we have to adopt this. And even you think it's an annual system, having trees, but you can pick the tree with a tight canopy. So in Thailand we have a dipterocarp, which is a very tall tree. It's also recognized as being one of the rain trees. If you know that trees actually, in their leaves, they release little particles that are then used for the water droplet to congeal for rain. And particularly like we're in a flatland area, we don't have the mountains pushing the air up. So these peak forest trees, like the dipterocarp, they both push the air up, and then they release a small particle that create clouds. So you can have those trees you can have around your rice field. In Sri Lanka, one dipterocarpus alatus that we love. It's called like the fertility tree for the rice, because it have very deep roots, and rice roots are shallow. So if you use any fertility, you go below, it get lost. But this tree, it can pull up that fertility, and every year it drop the leaf, and that leaf then come back to the soil and cycling that. So our farmer network is called Wanakase Symbiosis Network, and I think that this is really key understanding that unfortunately, like we are taught many years about competition, but there is so much more symbiosis or reciprocity within the system than there is actually competition.
What was the network?
Wanakase is the movement that's our Thai name for this forest garden movement. Wana is WANAKASET, Wanakase, and then Symbiosis Network.
And then what was that tree called that you said?
The Latin name is Dipterocarpus alatus. It's also a biodiesel tree too. So if you want to produce biodiesel for your future, you can tap it and you can get biodiesel from the tree. There are many. Probably time is up, but I think they will have a market tomorrow. But in my own place we make many different products from the different things in the forest and the tree. So that is, my wife is the expert in that. She's not here unfortunately, but I can show some of this. But if you're interested, you can look. We make a natural shampoo from kefir limes. We make face washing cream from tamarind and honey. This is sapan wood, which is sapan wood, which can be good for dyeing red, but it's also very good for health, for blood health. For women in menstrual cycle can help. We make this made by my daughter, making different healing balm. This is for a serum for like scalp and hair health. We make together as a group, we make medicines, and this medicine is one we use very regularly called green medicine. It uses 53 different species of herb. And this is another thing I think very important for like community creation. To make this medicine, we have to all join together to bring some different herbs and produce it together. So I think this kind of activity is also very important for connecting us together. So this is a... we make some soaps. This is a healing balm that I shared. This is for healing burns and skin ailment, and it includes the resin from another diphtherocarp tree, another one of the most important trees, and that tree is also kind of a sacred tree. It has like a spirit, a woman who just looks like a beautiful woman who can come through that tree, according to Thai knowledge. And yeah, from my understanding, well, if you're abusive in the forest, she can be scary, but that makes sense. But if you're somehow able to talk to her, she can tell you everything, like where to find anything. Because even our forests are also magical in a sense, but she can transfer it. So that's. And then we make soaps from coconut. We make our own coconut oil and soaps, and then adding herbs.
Quick question.
Yeah.
So for farmers who would like to evolve into agroforestry, do you guys provide trees to support them?
Yes. Well, if people want to evolve, fortunately in the Thai, we have a couple options. The Thai government actually promotes tree growing, so we can normally get free trees from forestry department. But then within the project, if you can have a brand partner, that's like they're also promoting this. The film was made by the North Face, so we get funding. So then we can have funding for training and for seedlings, but also encourage more exchange, because once you have, I have so many seedlings that come. Actually, we documented how many seedlings will grow in the agroforest, and so we also can often just pick the seedling and put it in a bag from another system. But yes, we help and support with the seedling, and for people who are not familiar, the training. But the training is in the farmer who's doing it. It doesn't need me to be the trainer, because we have so many farmers who's amazing agroforestry farmer, and they're in the exact same condition. So they can see, and we don't have what also was popular. A lot of external NGO, they tell you how to do things. They Thailand farmer is stupid, they're destroying the land, and then they say to do this way. But we're only working with the farmer who know this, and we don't say you have to do one way. We say you have to increase biodiversity, you have to heal the soil, you have to heal the watershed. But if you want to grow coffee, you want to grow fruits, you want to grow, doesn't matter, as long as you can see that and observe that. So very flexible, and it's really the farmers also collecting the data, and in terms of the indicator of regeneration, it was primarily described by the farmer. So regeneration, we have some overall principle, but their other value they have, they want to have a system where the children come back because we have a healthy economy and we have opportunity. So that's an indicator that we also look at. And they said, how do you look at the soil? Well, you can look at earthworm, but they said the best one in there is to look at mushroom. So we collect the data on mushroom, and if there's more mushroom, more variety, we know the soil is healthy. This is make a cough medicine.
You mean mushroom? You mean fruity body forming mushrooms, or fungi in general?
Well, we're observing fruiting body mushroom because it's easy. So it's like easy to see mushrooms and take pictures and identify them. So the process is makes it simple with that. But most of the mushroom we have in the forest, they are not from like deadwood. They're from mycorrhizal relationship with the trees or termite mushroom. So either of these is indicator of good soil health. So you can see that, take the photo, and we have it as evidence, and then we can see like now there's 7 different species, and it's just easy. We want to make things easy too. If you spend too much time and effort to collect data, it's not fun and it doesn't get done well. But if you have a fun way, and then also people like to show their pictures of the mushrooms and harvesting mushrooms, or any other thing, like if they take a photo of an interesting bird, then that can go and share that with other farmers. So even it's like the data, the proof that there is that health, it's also interesting to learn from farmer to farmer exchange.
一刷根39